Introducing the African Diaspora News Channel app, your gateway to stories that's overlooked by the corporate mainstream media.
And we serve as the voice to the Chubal Black community.
Again, we got Dr. Candace Matthews.
A lot of these documents, looking at.
We are committed to informing and educating through the power of media.
This country is supposed to be about the land of the free for all. It has not been free for Black people, and we are tired.
With our platform, we're helping to end injustice by exposing it.
Join us in standing for excellence in journalism and serving our community. Download the African Diaspora News app today.
Hello everyone, my name is Naledi Mfoloe and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to the latest edition of the African Diaspora News channel, where we unravel the stories that shape our world and our communities. Today we dive deep into the currents of information, from the pulse of politics to the heartbeat of entertainment. We've got it all covered, so please stay tuned for news experience like no other. Now, today's story delves into one of the most critical discussions. Now, that is the quality of leadership in Africa. Now, often blamed solely on internal factors, today we aim to reveal the complex web of historical and external influences that have contributed to the leadership crisis in this very continent. I think that when discussing Africa's challenges, it is a common place to point fingers at bad leadership, right? But there's some truth to that. Corruption and mismanagement are undoubtedly part of the problem. However, I think that this perspective omits a crucial part of the story. Now, the bad leaders in Africa are not entirely a matter of coincidence or a simple consequence of internal dynamics. They are actually, to a significant extent, a product of deliberate colonial and neo-colonial strategies. Colonial powers from the West meticulously orchestrate the selection and the maintenance of African leaders to actually serve their own interests. Now, the mechanism behind this is both strategic and harmful. It is strategic because it's designed to ensure that Africa's resources flow unhindered into the Western treasure box, and harmful because progressive pan-African leaders, on the other hand, who aim to prioritize the well-being and freedom of their nations, have frequently been undermined or, even worse, assassinated at the bidding of Western powers. Now, two prominent examples of the story are the stories of Mobutu Seko of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Omar Bongo of Gabon. Now, these leaders, notorious for their corruption, did not arise to power solely through local support or internal schemes. Now, Mobutu Seko was a military officer who came to prominence during the Congo crisis after the assassination of the progressive and immensely popular Patrice Lumumba. Now, Mobutu seized power with substantial backing from the United States and Belgium. His reign, characterized by kleptocracy, saw the systematic looting of Congo's resources. Now, while the people suffered, the treasure box of the Western nation and Mobutu's own bank accounts actually increased more than anything. And similarly to the story is Omar Bongo, who ruled Gabon for over 4 decades, maintaining a tight grip on the country's political landscape. With the fight of France, Bongo facilitated the exploitation of Gabon's oil reserves by Western interests in exchange for political and financial backing. I know. Now, the relationship between African dictator and Western powers actually exemplifies how colonial legacies endure during neo-colonial practices, which is holding up leaders who prioritize Western interests over the development and welfare of their own nations. Now, despite these challenges, Africa has not been lacking of progressive leaders who have actually sought to break free from neo-colonial grip. But unfortunately, history is filled with examples of such leaders meeting tragic ends. People like your Patrice Lumumba of Congo, Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso, and Muammar Gaddafi of Libya all championed visions of genuine independence and Pan-Africanism. And their assassinations reflect the lengths to which external forces will go to maintain control over African states. Let's have a look.
Libya under Muammar al-Gaddafi tried. What did they do to him? They killed him. Burkina Faso under Thomas Isidore Sankara tried it. What did they do to him? They killed him. Ghana under the Osagie for Kwame Nkrumah tried it. What did they do to him? Removed him from power. Tanzania, under Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere, tried it. What did they do to him? They undermined his economy. Mozambique, under Samora Moises Machel, tried it. What did they do to him? They killed him.
Wait, it doesn't end there. What about Ruben Umnyobe of Cameroon? Amilcar Cabral of Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde, Felix Moumier of Cameroon, Sylvanus Olympio of Togo, Hamani Diori of Niger, Laurent Désiré Kabila of DR Congo, Samuel Doe of Liberia, Eduardo Mondlane, Marion Nguabi, Barthélemy Boganda, Pierre Mulele, and many others.
So whenever you tried to decolonize in all spheres, the former colonizer turned policeman of the world or policeman of the world will take you out.
Now, this narrative is perhaps best captured by South African content creator Darren Kamfer. In his video on TikTok, Darren delves into how the West has systematically fought against or even assassinated progressive Pan-African leaders. His commentary sheds light on the strategic manipulations at play and actually emphasizes the importance of recognizing these influences to understand the current state of African leadership accurately. Let's have a look.
Let's be very, very clear on something. This is Thomas Sankara, gone. This is Patrice Lumumba, gone. This is Muammar Gaddafi, gone. This is Fidel Castro. He survived about 600 attempts on his life. This is Ibrahim Traore, the new president of Burkina Faso. Between this year and last year, he survived at least 3 attempts on his life. So I'm just echoing what Samora Machel said, which is that the West has never, ever, ever supported liberators of the global South. So let's just use a little bit of logic here. How can the West want the head of one liberator and then be shaking the hands of another so-called liberator? One of those two are not actually liberators. And you are definitely not going to be spending 300,000 Rand a month on a consulting firm just to suck up to the West either. So let's make this very simple. If the West isn't after your head, you are no threat to imperialism. If you are no threat to imperialism, you are not a liberator. And if you are not a liberator, you fit very comfortably in the camp of the oppressor. There are 2 things that are consistent about African leaders. The first is that the sellouts are supported by the West. The second is that the true liberators and revolutionaries spent their lives being hunted and demonized by the West. Now, some of our leaders might be inconsistent, but if there's one thing where Europe is consistent going all the way back to the Berlin Conference, and maybe even before that, it's that they will come together and cut down every single leader who tries to liberate the continent of Africa and use its resources for the benefit of the people. Now, not that it needed to be said, but the moment the US and the UK and the markets and everything else put their stamp of approval on the GNU, that should have told you everything you needed to know about how bad this is for the majority of South Africans.
Now, I absolutely have to agree with him. I think that the colonial powers designed African political boundaries and governance structures in ways that served their interest. Now, at independence, these structures were often left in place, creating framework where leaders could easily exploit resources and the people of their nations. Now, Western powers then used financial and military influence to hold up compliant leaders while destabilizing or eliminating those who posed a threat to their control or advocated for a significant reform and independence. And I think also it's clear that understanding these historical contexts is vital for addressing the leadership crisis in Africa. We must acknowledge these external influences to create pathways for genuine leadership and sustainable development. I think that for Africa to move forward, African nations must foster unity and actually embrace Pan-African ideals to collectively resist external manipulations. Now, civil society, youth movements, and progressive political voice should be empowered to hold leaders accountable and push for policies that actually prioritize citizens over foreign interests. Now, with that being said, Thank you so much for watching. We want to hear from you. What are your thoughts in regards to this? And while you're at it, please give this video a thumbs up. That's it from me. Till we meet again, it is goodbye.